I'm Eric Berger. I'm the CEO of Common Sense Networks. Common Sense Networks is a for-profit affiliate of Common Sense Media, a nonprofit that's been around 20 years doing advocacy, education, and media services for parents and families. Common Sense Networks, we're out there to improve digital experiences for the whole ecosystem around kids and families. On the business-to-business side, we work with brands and work with platforms to reimagine their approach to platforms and kids and family services. And then we have a direct-to-consumer service called Sensical, which is a ad-supported service that lives on all different platforms with short-form content from studios and digital creators for kids 2 to 10 years old.
This is Mrugesh. I'm the VP of North America for Accedo. Accedo is a leading provider of OTT UX solutions. We cater to markets all around the world, and we focus really on enabling content partners to distribute their solutions across a variety of different devices, everything from mobile to tablet to connected devices, smart TVs, gaming consoles. And we're also starting to have more of a focus with extended reality as well.
Our mission is to ensure that kids can freely explore their world without any barriers. So the barriers could be economic, they could be digital certainly, they could be racial barriers. And in order to do that, we implemented a process for content evaluation based on a framework that has been used by Common Sense Media for like 20 years. And what that means is we evaluate every piece of content and we categorize it across 300 different metrics from age and topic and everything that we do, all done through these child development experts that we have. And so the idea is to create environments where kids can roam freely across the content. They won't be trapped by algorithms that take them into places that aren't appropriate. The advertising will be appropriate. And through that process, they can learn, grow, explore, and have a good experience overall. We set out to make something very custom in order to realize that vision, and we needed a partner that was right there with us, and for a couple different things that we needed. The first was quality. We needed the confidence that it could be quality. It is a free application, and sometimes people mistake that with not needing to be at the same level as something that's more premium priced. Not the case. This had to live up to it. We also wanted to make sure that it could be ubiquitous. So the idea is to match what else is out in the market. And if that's the case, it needed to be on all the major connected TV, mobile, web, and it had to be everywhere. And then we had some very specific tools that we wanted created. And you guys were up for the challenge, particularly around some of these parent tools to track consumption and viewership so that they could engage with a child at the end of the day. But ultimately what really sold it for us was you guys bought into our vision. And we came from this place where we felt that kids deserve better, the market deserves better, and you guys were right there with us on there from the minute that we talked about this, and it was really important for us in a partnership.
Yeah, and I think that's something we certainly appreciated. Your ability to actually articulate the vision before we even broke ground on any of the development activities was really critical to the success I think we eventually had. We weren't sort of just looking at it from a development project perspective, but really about what your end users wanted to achieve out of the service when it eventually deployed. And I think kind of feeding that message, reiterating that message throughout the journey by you to our team was very critical to what we eventually were able to deploy to market.
Yeah, no, it's very clarifying when maybe you get stuck on something, you say, well, let's go back to the mission, let's go back to what we're trying to do. And every time we do that, we get to a really good place.
Exactly, and the best types of customer vendor relationships we've enjoyed is actually being partner-to-partner relationships. And oftentimes I think our team sentiment was very much we're an extension of your team. It's very joint product development that was happening, and even your personal involvement, joining weekly calls, actually looking at the builds, the demos, giving that direct feedback, I think was very, very inspiring to the team. And sometimes I think that's what's required to get the quality product at the end of the day.
From a success point of view, we did a lot of what we set out to do. I mean, we wanted these sets of apps that were very richly featured. I mean, you've got 3 completely distinct age experiences when you come in: 2 to 4-year-olds, 5 to 7, 8 to 10s. You have all of the on-demand content categorized in 60 different channels by topic. There's 3 live channels that are in there. There's an opportunity through favorites for kids to make their own channels. There's all the parent tools. And so this was a really big deal. And then to cap it off, one of the latest things that we just launched is the TikTok integration into our mobile apps in a way that is, I think, unique to what has been done before, and is certainly in a safe and suitable manner, for kids and families. So I think a huge success that we accomplished in a relatively short period of time across all those different applications, a richly featured app.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think to add to that, the fact that we were able to emulate that user experience across all the different device platforms, you're not talking about a consistent set of performance and device attributes. So, I think you instilled in us that we shouldn't be building towards the lowest common denominator. Let's set a high benchmark and then really test out the performance capabilities of each platform. And I think what was released as a minimal viable product was probably not minimal from the perspective of the end user, which is very important, I think, to just gain that right traction when you essentially launched a completely new brand to market.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I would say that we're setting a new standard for kids out there around everything that we just talked about, that there is a way to do this. There is a way to have high quality content that is in an appropriate environment for kids, but that is still enjoyable. A lot of times people think if you spend too much time where parents lock down an application or too much time vetting the content, it just comes out in broccoli or in a way that kids don't want to use it. And I would say that's very much not the case here. It was designed specifically to meet kids where they are and the types of ways that they are consuming content now, but just do it in an appropriate way. And at the same time, I think we've done right by creators, because a problem with the healthy creators right now is that they can't always get surfaced on other platforms due to algorithms or for whatever reason. And by really bringing those creators front and center, it makes for a healthy ecosystem. And then the same is true for brands. It's a free app, there's applications, there's advertising on the platform, and making sure that we did that in a way that is also safe and suitable advertising that gives them an outlet to connect with families in an appropriate way really just raises the bar on the ecosystem, I think.
Absolutely. I would answer this question probably more from the engineering and design aspects to building out the service. Firstly, and this is something we've talked about before, but when you think about the demographic that these applications target, their expectations on user experience, the kids' expectation on user experience, intuitiveness, aesthetics is so key. Yeah. And I think there was a very meticulous approach to the design of the applications. There's a lot of work put into seeing what's out there in the market, understanding the gaps in terms of the user experience, the aesthetics as well, and making very firm decisions that we wanted to avoid the pitfalls that some of these applications had faced when launching that initial app to market. And especially in the context of having this completely new brand, I think that attention to detail, that attention to quality, that attention to the design aesthetic was a very good collaboration and the right thing to focus on.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up, because it is very different than what other kids apps have been doing, but it's very much intended to tap into the way that kids are using media on other platforms. And so a lot of people have a lot of opinions about, well, that's not how you do it, or you do it this way, or you do it that way. And we collectively sort of held our ground on what we thought was important on the design aesthetic to meet kids where they are.
Exactly. And I remember one particular example where even something as specific as the app load times on certain platforms, we were benchmarking that against what was available in the market, and just making sure that no shortcuts were created in delivering this experience to market.
I mean, I have been a passionate advocate of free and ad-supported media for some time, and to see it playing out in a linear fashion right now is wild. I think the explosion of that video surpasses expectations for many, but I think it's still only just the beginning. There's customers have clearly spoken that they can find a choice and find the content that they're interested in and watch it in a lean back living room environment in a really interesting way. And that's for adults and families as well as for kids. They should be closer to a traditional television network, you know, programmed as such, interstitials, lower thirds, you know, thoughtfully laid out in day parts. But also the user interface on these platforms needs to improve so that discovery can be a little bit easier for customers to find. So that, you know, in the next few years is going to be what I think you'll be seeing play out in the market.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think, you know, the last couple of years you've seen a lot of the, you know, fast distribution through the aggregators. But I think, you know, we are CS, so I'll make a bit of a prediction. You are going to sort of see a trend towards more owned and operated fast applications, and I think this you know, speaks to that oversaturation. You know, for you to actually stand out, you may actually want to launch your own brand, distribute your own fast service and fast channels through that, in parallel to distributing through the aggregators as well.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we think a lot about, in what we do, we think a lot about positive impact that it will have on kids. And there's really three areas that we see through the content and the whole product experience. You know, the first is around increased curiosity, we think will happen. And it's because of the free exploration. We want kids to explore. Exploration is how they learn. They become curious, and we want that. The problem is, sometimes in other environments, you know, through algorithms or otherwise, they can get themselves in trouble. So I think that's one. The second is lower materialism. So part of the problems with kids right now is when they watch advertisements that they can't separate from the content, when they see unboxing videos, when they see other kids pushing product, it does breed more materialistic behavior. And so by filtering out that type of content or that type of ad experience in our platform, less materialism overall. And the last one, which is really important, is higher self-esteem. So when kids see themselves in the content, or they have a respect for others in the content, it raises their self-esteem. And with mental health being just a huge issue that's taking hold in not just the US, but around the world right now, ensuring that we have a content experience where kids can feel good about themselves on it is really an important outcome that we care about.
Yeah, I think what Eric and his team have essentially put together is, you know, extremely visionary. It's going to set the benchmark for years to come in terms of what an app experience should be for kids, and not just from a video-centric perspective, but any type of digital experience that you're going to be developing for kids. I think it's this type of thinking on, you know, how is that actually going to affect the sort of cognitive behavior, the growth of that child, and then even think about really nuanced segmentation as you've done with your application. I think that will be perhaps a legacy that you know, Sensical will leave behind one day.
So we're going to continue to find, license, and program more content. Right now, within our fast channels on our application, we have one around video games, one around makers content, one around preschool, Sensical Junior, and those are priorities for us right now to bring in more content along those lines. At the same time, we're going to be expanding our monetization partners. So we did some of this in 2022, but we're going to be really focusing a lot of that in 2023 on bringing them on board and doing interesting programs with them in ways that they can connect appropriately with kids and family. And then product, of course. So evolving the experience. There's a lot more that you and I have talked about that we could do around the TikTok integration into our applications that I think what's out there right now is just the beginning of a very cool experience that we can create there. And then looking at international opportunities as well.
Absolutely. You know, I think one topic we discussed briefly is even the potential for extended reality. This will be a bit of the year of the metaverse, yes. And it is you know, talk of the town here in Vegas at CES. I think this is a very nascent space in terms of understanding the right types of experiences to bring to extended reality for kids. And to be honest, there's just not been enough research done to see whether it will be beneficial, how it can actually affect negatively kids. But I think that's another space to look out for. I think the message, especially in the context of the work we've done with Sensical, is really to focus on user experience first and work backwards from that in terms of all other decisions and strategies you'll make. And user experience in the context of any OTT service today is twofold, right? It's about the content, it's about the app experience. And I think in the early days of OTT, the benchmarks, especially around performance and quality, weren't quite at the standards that Sensical and newer apps that are emerging are setting. But having something that's non-performant, that's non-intuitive, is certainly going to hurt your ability to actually scale audiences and retain them.
Probably just add that Gen Alpha, kids under 12, is a really interesting and a very different demographic that they need to take seriously. They're born completely into digital, more so than even Gen Z before that. They're very comfortable in short form video. They're very comfortable making video. They're comfortable in the metaverse. They're comfortable using virtual currencies in a way that people talk about like it's theoretical, but it is absolutely here and is absolutely comfortable for this group of people. They're also less than 50% white in the United States, and it really brings in a different point of view for how they view the content, from both at the actual content layer as well as sort of a cultural context for all that. And so this generation needs to be taken quite seriously in what it's doing, and we need to do right by them is the issue too. And there are certain regulations that are coming down. California Digital Design Code Act was signed, takes effect in 2024. It's probably going to spread across other parts of the United States, and it dictates that we need to extend up to age 18 practices that ensure that the child is not in harm on these platforms. And so my advice to a future media exec is to take all of this confluence of issues quite seriously in how they think about their planning.
Yeah. I mean, I think this theme of just understanding the demographics, figuring out all the different nuances amongst them is going to be something important to consider for media executives now and into the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Eric, this sit-down has been extremely valuable. I've actually learned even more insights. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we haven't actually had an opportunity to meet till this sit-down, which is pretty crazy to think about, especially since it's been almost 3 years since we've worked with you. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting you today, and all the best for 2023. And from the Accedo team, I think it's been an absolute pleasure working with you, and let us continue into the future.
Well, thank you, and thank the whole team for an amazing partnership. I think we're really doing something special here, and again, looking forward to 2023 and beyond. So thank you.